My name's Haydn. I'm the Strategic Asset Manager for Wellington City Council, and my responsibility is looking at all of the assets across the city collectively and collegially, I suppose, and getting a view of what the future might look like and unpacking things like cost through time and what your future liability looks like and how you maximise public value. What does augmented reality mean for me and the council is probably sliced and diced three different ways, and it depends on what asset grouping you're talking about. But I guess underneath the hood of that is an opportunity to look at your assets electronically in reality, augmented albeit, to help you manage them. And I mean it in a very broad sense. The nature of our assets, or our suite of assets, and I'll take transportation assets as one, which is all our roading infrastructure, our three waters assets, which is our water, wastewater and stormwater assets as another, and then our what we call our built and green assets, which is our housing stock or housing portfolio, and all of the other buildings that we have in our property portfolio in the civic campus, which we're in, would be one of those. Things like the town hall and so on and so forth. Every one of those would have a very useful set of exercises which could be well supported by an augmented reality situation, but they are very different. So you could well imagine that in terms of augmented reality for looking at pipes under the ground, you can't actually see them, but you can actually in augmented reality, and we've proven that recently, which is why we did what we did. But also in terms of some of the buildings that we can actually see, buildings are very complex. If you've got 200 or 300 housing units within a built structure, like an apartment block, which we actually do, then you could well imagine that geospatially the information that you are required to get you to the right place in the building, to replace the right thing, and so on and so forth. If you've got that mapped in a BIM model, for example, everything becomes relatively easy very quickly. So the tools are actually used in slightly different ways, but actually can fundamentally change how you might manage your assets.
Disruptive technology.
So disruptive technologies in council space are historically actually quite difficult circumstances to deal with. I think Wellington City's been quite innovative in its own right, where it's created circumstances that allows for exploration of how and what the next generation looks like. So, I mean, a good example is some of the reasonably sophisticated analytics we're doing on pipe deteriorations and things like that. So we're taking historically disparate disciplines and bringing them into the fold and sitting them around with folk who have traditionally been involved in the discussions around how you manage assets. And so, for example, someone who would normally sit around that table would be obviously a water engineer from the city. The people I'm really talking about who are coming in who are new is data scientists and actuaries and so on and so forth. So there's complementary disciplines here that for the first time in this sector are being pulled together and merged, if you like, to give you a better value proposition in terms of an outcome than would be able to be done traditionally. This is not that uncommon for other sectors. So, for example, if you went into, say, those who manage aeroplanes and things like that, there's a lot of statistical analysis that is done on failure around jet engines and things like that. So we are, if you like, taking some disciplines from the most sophisticated and the most advanced asset management folk in the manufacturing sector, you know, people like Toyota Japan, for example, and bringing those same disciplines and applying them in a reasonably sensible way to what we do. And it's early days, to be fair, but we're building the foundations to allow that to happen. That is completely disruptive. That means we're doing stuff, analysing stuff in a way that we've never analysed it before. And that throws up a whole lot of answers. It also throws up a whole lot of questions. And some of the work that we did 2 or 3 years ago when we kind of set this journey off it actually threw up more questions than it did answers. But what it allowed us to do, probably about 18 months in, maybe even 2 years in, because it's been nearly 3 or 4 years now, we're actually 18 months ago I think, broadly speaking, with a reasonable degree of clarity, exactly what we didn't know. Now that's actually gold, because if you know you don't know it, then you can go and do something about it. Code for you can go and collect some information, you can rerun some stuff, you can reanalyze. So you get a sense of the size of the work package that you have in front of you. In terms of what we've done is we've made a whole lot of assumptions around our assets to do and deliver what we thought we needed for the long-term plan. But all of those assumptions ultimately will end up being and are included in a work program, so we're turning from an assumption into a reality. So that's in of itself is a really important piece of work. So very disruptive.
Why did you choose to collaborate with Augview?
There's probably 2 things going along with Augview at the same time with some other stuff that's happening more generally. So if you spend any time reading around more recent technologies, 3D BIM models are actually becoming more and more business as usual. They're not there yet, so they will come though. So to me, what Augview is almost is a plug for a 3D BIM model that we are kind of managing right now. So it's a natural addition. It's next generation, and you have to have the data sets to be able to plug Augview in. We have the sophistication and the data to be able to do that. Now there's lots of questions around improving that baseline, all that sort of stuff. But actually, because we're BIM savvy and have been for a while, and it is coming, BIM, the Productivity Commission has a thing called the BIM Acceleration Committee. So digital data is just going to be business as usual in the not too distant future. So if you are managing assets through digital data, then Augview becomes a natural fit, I suppose. The one thing that probably, the one thing that stands out is if you can see your reality in an augmented sense, it means maybe I don't even need to go to the site, because there are many questions I might ask about something that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do other than by visiting the site to see. So if I've captured the information in the first instance, I may not have to visit the site, that's the first thing. The second thing is, if I do have the augmented reality and I do have a tap that I need to fix, if I've got an augmented reality solution that's easy and accessible in my hand around going to find that tap, then the time it takes for me to go to the right place to inspect something or to replace something is substantially changed. I don't have to go looking anymore, I know. So that's why it's helpful. I don't think, I think there's a lot of work to do to turn this into BAU. Well, we've played, and I'll use that term slightly euphemistically, we've demonstrated the proof of concept stuff, and it demonstrated pretty well. It's about how does that actually become just part of business as usual. So I think there's quite a lot of work to do. It's like not that long ago, people didn't use phones. People didn't have mobile phones. It's that kind of transition over that kind of period of time. So, and it'll be about trying it to see what the best use of it is as well. Because you can imagine a whole number of things, but until you actually go to the field and start using this thing, you won't actually know what you don't know. But yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity to start using it to see how you might dovetail it. In actual fact, that's what we're looking at. Because one of the things of our team is that we're looking at a program that works to what I would call operationalise all of the stuff that we've been doing. through the next 3 years. And we're talking to the chief around how we might do that. So I expect that augmented reality and the tools around that, alongside some of the analytics that we're doing for managing the assets, alongside some of the developments of work programs and forward financial forecasts, all require dovetailing into just business as usual. So that's what we're thinking about and building now.